Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. In the rest of my life, I want to see a significant upgrade in trade for Africa, and I believe that is very possible. I strongly believe when I think about the world in the next 20 years, there's a couple of really, I think, very significant changes we'll see in the world. Number one, I believe in India. I think India is going to be very significant over the next 20 years in terms of its growth. A lot of that being driven by the population growth, but also just by the business focus and just really extraordinary work, I think, and opportunity that's there. And then the second area of growth, I think, is going to happen in Africa. And so 54 or so countries, the AFCFTA has set the stage for a tremendous amount of opportunity and growth. There are challenges, no question about it, and having stable, solid, ethical, professional government is a key aspect to most countries as they grow, and that's still going to be a challenge ongoing. It's not a perfect situation in most of the countries, but as I look through my own view, I had listed out some countries that I have my eye on, and hopefully through our conversation today, we'll be hearing from some or all of these countries: Angola, Namibia, Ghana, Kenya, Botswana, Egypt, South Africa, and Uganda were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a top 8, kind of on my own radar screen. And so if you're from another country that should be in a top 10, let us know today what some of those opportunities are. The purpose of today is not for you to listen to me, but it's to listen to our executive directors on the ground in Africa, to listen to our members who have their own unique, special views of what the opportunities are in Africa, and they have things to share. And then we have about 25, I think it might be a little higher, but it's somewhere around 25 new global advisors all across Africa that have largely come in through the Mandela Washington Fellowship. They spent time in the United States this summer, and we reached out, and we were very fortunate that most or many of the people that we reached out to, maybe most of them, said yes, they would like to be a global advisor. We want to be younger. We want to encourage young people to not just feel like they can make an impact, but be effective and be most effective in their impact in their community, within the region, and then within the world. And that's how ultimately Africa will be extraordinary. 20 years from now, we'll be looking back and saying, wow, look at the progress that Africa made with their export mentality, the trade mentality. They came to a place where they decided, collectively, and that momentum has started, where the continent now is a key player in the world of globalization and trade. So that's my hope and dream. Part of the leadership that's doing that is Comey Clue. Comey is from, I think you're originally from Africa, but you've lived in the United States, and we were joking earlier about Comey knowing Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. Those of us that have lived in Delaware, and most of my career has been with the DuPont company that's in Delaware, we know Joe Biden because he is such an extraordinary politician. Even now when I listen to him, I admire him so much in terms of his understanding the working man, the understanding what people go through. He, I think, understands as well leadership and entrepreneurialism and what it takes from a business perspective, because he's listened to DuPont and other companies and the importance. Many of you know that Delaware has a corporate tax structure that allows companies to incorporate there less expensively. So many companies are headquartered in Delaware. So I think he gets all of that. But one of the fun things about Joe Biden is he would commute to Washington as a senator for decades from the Wilmington train station. And so many of us who have used the train at Wilmington have seen him, and he said hi. And I happened to, the first time to meet him right before my daughter was born at the University of Delaware, and got to shake his hand. And he's just such a warm, extraordinary person, and just so proud as an American to have him as our president. Comey, hopefully you don't disagree with me. Let's start the conversation about Africa and opportunities. Could you kick us off and just kind of give a little bit of a perspective on what you're seeing in Africa, what we should be keeping in mind, and anything else you'd like to share about yourself, your business, or anything else?
Yeah, thank you, Doug. If I were not a prudent person, I would have assumed that you are a Democrat, the way you were describing Joe Biden. That's a joke.
And I am a proud Democrat, no question.
I know. Joe is a wonderful person. I mean, you and I would have taken the train with him. And actually, currently that I'm semi-based in Delaware. And I commute to DC for the most part. So I'm just using the same train that Joe Biden used to use a few years ago. He's a great person. So we're blessed to have him as a president. Yes, I'm an African. And I don't like to give countries, because when we were on these lands before colonization, there was no country. We were just Africans. We were divided into kingdoms, so to go by kingdom, by countries. But I'm an African, and I think that's why our political leaders are doing now by creating the African Free Trade Area, so that we can travel and transact business across the continents as one people, without any border or distinction. Okay, that being said, for the last 3 months that I've been back to the continent, I see a lot of things moving in the right direction, but let me note that inflation is too high in some of the countries that I have visited. And inflation is too high, so it is affecting business. However, once all these crises, cyclical crises like the war and everything are under control, I think Africa will resume a normal growth trajectory. What areas am I interested in now? What areas I see a lot of activities now? Top of the list is foods and agro processing, meaning food production and distribution. That's number one. It just makes sense because we import, the last statistical report I was reading from the World Bank, we spend $35 billion a year to import food into Africa, but it is projected to triple to $110 billion by 2025 in 2 years because our population is growing so fast. So it does not make sense for Africa to keep importing food. And then one of our crippling effects on our economy is we do not have sustainable, reliable, and affordable energy. So that's the second area, energy, power, to power our businesses and our industries. I mean, Africa, for us to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we need to start manufacturing things here. There is a requirement that we call the local contents rule of origin. That means at least 50% of the things have to be manufactured in Africa. Now, how can you manufacture things if you do not have reliable energy or affordable energy? You cannot compete. So those are the top two. Of course, we have been growing very, very fast in the areas of ICT, information communication and telecommunication. So that trend will continue. In fact, I just have more and more people from the US reaching out to me for some ICT projects in Ghana specifically, because they see that some of the giants, some of the tech giants are already in Africa: Google, Microsoft, Twitter, and they are all creating their AI lab in Africa. So just to summarize myself, agro, electricity, and ICT. Those are the top three. As for countries to keep on the watch list, I will add to the list that Doug has given us 2 countries, Côte d'Ivoire or Africa Coast and Senegal. Côte d'Ivoire is the biggest economy within the Francophone zone, the former French colonies countries. But Senegal, why? Because Senegal is also one of the most stable Francophone countries with a stable political system. And now they have started developing their natural gas production. So it is just going to leapfrog and jumpstart the economy like you've never seen before. So Senegal needs to be on somebody's watch list. That's the reason why the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is organizing their next conference in Senegal, and I'm happy to announce that I'll be part of it, of the conference. Okay.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So, but in closing, what I wanted to focus on today is people who are interested in investing in Africa need to know that there are risks associated with investing in Africa. So one needs to safeguard their investments by being prudent. Before they invest, they need to investigate. They need to investigate their potential partner. They need to investigate the country and the country risk, which are some of the services that my firm provides. They need to investigate the business feasibility and return on investment, and last but not least, their ability to repatriate their earnings, because the rules differ from one country to another. So these are the homework that they need to do before they put their money into any deal. And we are happy to just help them hold their hands across Francophone and Anglophone Africa before they invest their money. That being said, there is a lot of opportunities in Africa, and a lot of countries are jumping into the fray now, mostly the Chinese, Turkey, Israel. I mean, we have the traditional countries who do business with Africa already, the UK, France, and the US. So that's what I have. I have some specific information on like political risk insurance and other things that people may need information on. But if somebody get in touch with me, I'll put my contacts in the chat box. I'll be happy to share the information with them. Thank you, Doug.
That sounds great. Two things in terms of the process here. I think what we'll do is we'll go next to Derek, and then to Debbie, and then to Murado, and then we're just going to go around the room and have each of you, introduce yourself, have questions, have rebuttals, have comments based on what you've heard. Feel free in the meantime to put your questions and comments and your contact information in the chat area. And let's just, finish up about 5 minutes ahead of the top of the hour before we move on to the next meeting with Derek. I'd also like to plant a seed. Comey, you got me thinking about something, and I'd like you to think about this as well, if you could. One of the most impressive exporting initiatives I've seen in the Americas has been the nearshoring technology work out of Mexico. So about 15 years or so ago, an Arizona-based company, and I think there were others, but they were thinking, wow, if we could get young people out of the colleges of Mexico who knew IT, they would be less expensive and they would be able to provide technology support into the US. We might need to have project managers that are Americans to run the IT projects, but let's find a way to do that. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to go to the universities. We're going to encourage them to build a curriculum around engineering and IT, and then market those programs to students to say you should be part of the future by knowing technology. And so in 15 years ago, hardly any students. Then more and more students became technology savvy, and they ended up getting their degree and then being exported, if you will, their services being exported to the US. And so my question to you and to all of you is, what universities in Africa, in any of the countries, not necessarily in IT, but anywhere, are encouraging export, are encouraging the mentality that we can build it here, whether it's food processing, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's anything or a service. Which universities are driving that initiative, and we'd love to be able to work with them and maybe support them. And I think that will be, whether it's any of these areas, it'll be one of the key success stories that we'll be looking back on, 20 years from now. So if you could think about that, Comey, I would love to hear it from any of you. Derek, what do you think about that? And what would you like to share today from Nairobi, Kenya? Derek Banga is the Global Chamber Executive Director for us in Nigeria, and you have a program starting in about 40 minutes. So thank you very much for that as well, U.S.-Kenya trade. But in the meantime, is there anything that you'd like to share about opportunities, or anything that Comey has said, or anything else that you'd like to share?
All right. Well, thanks, Doug. And just to reiterate, it is Nairobi rather than Nigeria, but thank you for that. Nevertheless, we're one big continent here, Africa. So I really don't want to steal the thunder. At the top of the hour, we'll be having a conversation on an important trade initiative between Kenya and the US, but also that has, I think, ramifications for all of Africa. We have an SME expert who's coming to talk about this. And I just want to talk about SMEs for a second, because I've just come from a 3-day boot camp on how the Global Chamber and other organizations that I'm involved in as ESOs, entrepreneur supporting organizations, can really help SMEs. We've just come off the back of an election that thankfully ended peacefully. We had a ruling in our Supreme Court, and we now have a new president. And so really part of why the incumbent president won is about his message about really doubling down and investing on the SME sector. So for me, I think that's really what's going to drive the narrative, certainly as far as investment opportunities in this part of the world, and certainly maybe for the larger part of Africa are concerned. But I'm happy to take any questions, and I'm really thrilled to meet all the new global advisors. So I'll hand it back to you, Doug. Please join me at the top of the hour. I'll put the link in the chat, and you can sign up if you haven't already. It promises to be an exciting conversation. Thank you.
We'll include the Zoom link when we get to the end of this program's. Derek Banga, Global Chamber Executive Director for Nairobi, Kenya. Sorry for misspoken. I have not been drinking today at all, except for coffee. Before we move on, any questions or thoughts based on what you've heard so far from either from Derek or from Comey?
Doc, I would like to chime in again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 1 minute, because what you say about exporting our services is actually or happening already. There are few outsource centers here that are providing services to the US, to some US IT companies. So it is happening already. And as far as universities are concerned, the public universities are not so much designed for this type of support system, but because I lecture at a couple of private universities across the region, the private university are more inclined to this type of proposition. So this is a conversation I'm willing to take offline with you.
I would love to have that with you, because my own experience 35 years ago in South Korea, as an example, was when I would go there, I would be pumped by the engineers at Hyundai and other companies saying, what are the Japanese doing? The mentality, the intense mentality of competition versus other countries, to be able to put these, in that case, automotive industry together was amazing, you know, because in those days Hyundai was a garbage product. It was terrible. It was not a good, it was only good for content within South Korea, but they very quickly, over 10 years, over 20 years, have become world class. But that takes engineering, it takes, you know, education, it takes training, and it takes passion and a belief that it can be done. And I believe it can be done in Africa. It takes, you know, leaders, though, to encourage more and get universities and other places, I think, involved.
Oh, yes, I agree. The mindset has to change. So we can pick up that conversation later. Okay,
that sounds good. What was I going to mention? So there was something else I was going to mention, and I've lost it. So I'm sorry. It'll probably come to me while our next speaker is speaking. So Debbie Adesola Daramola, would you please, and maybe with Nihi as well, from Nigeria, the real Nigeria, not the Nigeria, Kenya that I talked about earlier, the real Lagos. Would you, is there anything that you would like to share regarding things that are coming up? And certainly one is the investment conversation that you're having on Saturday, but is there anything else we should know about opportunities in Nigeria, or anything else that you'd like to share?
Thank you, though. Well, for now, actually, basically, what most of us in Nigeria are looking up to would be for investors to come and participate in our agriculture sector and the export sector. We also have the power, and we also have the telecoms and ICT. Although telecoms and ICT is doing great so far, we have people coming in, and there are new things coming up. Like Komi mentioned earlier, we have the likes of Google, Microsoft. Microsoft, actually, they have a huge building somewhere on the island in Nigeria. And yes, there are many more people coming up. We will also like more investors to come in that line too. Of great importance will be agriculture sector and the power sector, because we don't have so much great power in Nigeria. That's in terms of electricity. And you would agree with me that businesses thrive where there's good power, where there's good electricity, and you don't have to like put on the gen 24/7. So we're still trying to like find ways of making that perfect in Nigeria. So we'll actually welcome people that want to invest in that area, power and agriculture. Agriculture will be the different channels in agriculture. I guess my colleague, Nii, if he's here, I think he's already joining here. He's going to talk more on that, the legal aspect of investing in Nigeria, and many other things. He's very thorough. He's a lawyer, very sound lawyer that with years of experience. So it would be nice for a lot of people to key into Saturday's event. It's really going to be mind blowing and also eye opening. So I want to like give Nii the opportunity to talk, and then maybe I'll come in later if any other thing comes up. Nii, do you have anything to say like, can you put,
Yeah,
can
I
you
can
buttress
speak.
on the legal
Yeah, I
part?
can
Yes.
speak.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I wouldn't talk much about the legal, but at this for now, what I'll focus more for now on is one of the things I'll still speak about on Saturday, and that concerns the opportunities. Nigeria might not look like an attractive market now, but one thing is going for it. One very, very important thing that many other African countries don't have at the moment. This is going to be basically foreign direct investment in the form of remittance from people, Nigerians living in the diaspora. Last year, this was about $19 billion. This is almost sure money for the Nigerian economy that any government and the next government will likely tap into it. This will be $19 billion as at last year. I don't have the figures for this year, and who knows what happens next year. Now, this is sure income for the country, regardless of whether anybody comes to invest. These are Nigerians now investing in their own economy. By the time this is channeled properly, if it's just $5 billion or $1 billion, it can act as a catalyst for several other aspects of the economy. And this is one key area that many maybe experts are not looking at for the Nigerian economy. $1 billion in any African economy can do wonders. And when it comes with the kind of opportunities that are already waiting for investment, it can be an entirely different thing. Of course, we know about fintech, and as there are other areas that Debbie has talked about, but I think more of this on Saturday. Thank you.
When you say that they're investing, the diaspora is investing, what does that look like? Does that mean they're investing in businesses in Nigeria, even though they may be living in Europe or somewhere else?
No, what I mean, effectively, the funds coming in. So it's not yet structured enough to be captured totally by the government to direct them into specific areas. What I mean by that is this. When money comes, I have an uncle who's a US citizen. I have a brother living in the US. So Debbie most likely has. Several Nigerian families are structured that way. A lot of our people abroad sending money, but the money is captured by the banks and we do all kinds of things with it. But when it comes to investment, the next government, at least one of the presidential candidates has said that this is a very key area for investment money. This is pure FDI. And so you can tap into it and utilize it for all kinds of investment purposes in the country.
Okay, interesting. One thing that's always stuck with me is a data point about the US, which I think is true everywhere, but I haven't seen data outside the US. The data for the US is 5% of companies in the US are foreign owned. So 1 out of 20 companies, 5% in the US are owned by foreign companies, foreign entities. Those companies account for 20% of the exports for the United States. So 5% of the companies are owned by foreign companies. Those companies account for 4 times the power on the export side. And export is good because it's basically shipping something out and money coming back, right? It's free money to some extent, and that money is taxed. And so it goes to a conversation I've had multiple times about why should African companies encourage investment? Not kind of like the bad stuff sometimes that you see, just infrastructure, which infrastructure is good, but what you really want in any country is to have foreign investors have confidence to invest, because they will very often preferentially be exporters, and that exporting can be taxed. And so that's part of, I think, the process that we need to be thinking about in every country. How do we encourage foreign direct investment with stability, with lower risk, with knowledge about what the opportunities are, and successful leaders? Then they tend also to be exporters as well. And so please keep that in your thinking. And I would love to hear your thoughts about that as we go forward. Thank you, Nihi, for sharing today. We have not had ever, I don't think, a conversation about Madagascar, but Murado is a new global advisor for Global Chamber, and I understand you have a presentation that you'd like to share, and we'd love to learn more about your view of what the opportunities are there. Murado, are you available to give a short presentation?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
I am Irado. I'm the global advisor of in Antananarivo, Madagascar. First of all, I apologize. I'm in bed on IV. I got a pancreatitis crisis on Monday.
Oh my.
So I feel a little bit tired, but I really wanted to attend this Zoom meeting. So that's why about
Thank you very
Madagascar.
much for taking this. I really appreciate it. You said it's pancreatitis?
Yes, pancreatitis.
Oh my goodness.
I've been, it is my 10th hospitalization since December 2019. And when I was in the US, I did not have any crisis. But once back in Madagascar, I got a crisis on Monday. So, but I think
very
that,
sorry to hear it.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm used with it. So a little bit about Madagascar. I'm working in soccer and sports industry, but I would like to talk about three sectors that I think we can we have opportunities. So the first one is tourism, the second one is textile sector, and the third one is agriculture. Madagascar is a big island, which we have 587,000 kilometers square, which is 1,000 times the surface of Seychelles. And we can find a big diversity, high diversity in terms of population, cultures, fauna and flora from the east to west, from the north to south. And I think that we can exploit the tourism. In 2020, we just had around 87,000 visitors, which represented 177 million euros, 1.5% of our GDP. So you can see that we have a big room of improvement. What we lack in Madagascar is infrastructures, and maybe trying to find out how to make the destination, Madagascar destination, more attractive. About textile, we are the fourth country in Africa to export in Europe after Egypt, Morocco, and Algeria. So the strengths are the workforce first, which is affordable and provides quality works. But we have the weaknesses, the transportations, roads, and energies as well are really unstable. And third one, agriculture. I agree with Comic Clue that we can manage ourselves about foods in our continent. In Madagascar, we have about 36 million hectares that are not yet exploited, but that we can do. So I think in these three sectors, we can do something, but I'm not really expert on those sectors. What I can do is that I can link you up with some people that are active in these sectors and that are experts in these sectors. But I think there are the 3 points that we can really make. And I rate them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I see your shirt says something about young leaders. What does that say on your shirt? Oh, did we lose you?
So, on young leaders, we are young leaders. It's in French. So I'm a part of the 2021 cohort of the young leaders, which is a program organized by the French African Foundation.
Wonderful. Merci beaucoup for the sharing today. Really appreciate it. Our pleasure. Let's go now to Uganda with Robina. Robina, you've shared, I think, your conference that you've got coming up in October. What else would you like to share about some opportunities in your region?
Okay, thank you very much, Doug, and I'm very happy to be part of this meeting.
Welcome.
Yes, I think let me first share more about what I'm doing, because as we say, governments have their roles to do or whatever, but also citizens have their roles to do, and I have a role to do. So I'm Robina Kenanyunja. I am the president and founder of Pilot International. When I founded Pilot International right from university, right from school, my vision was to promote international development, the global trade thing. And with Pilot International, we do this. We have been doing this using events and summits, exhibitions and conferences in some countries across Africa. But specifically in Uganda, we've been able to bring on board entrepreneurs, importers and exporters in Uganda for the last 10 years. And to supplement on that, we are going to launch next month at the Trans-Africa Investment Summit. We are going to launch one of the technology solutions, an online store and selling hub to further, especially connect Africa. You know, Africa, we are so disunited in terms of the countries. I mean, even now, I'm finding it difficult. People are attending from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Zambia, from wherever, wanting visas to come to Uganda. It's ridiculous. I find it ridiculous and challenging. And the reason that really Africa should be viewed as one country, whether in trade or in everything. So in my country and region, Uganda being agriculture based, there are opportunities in the agricultural value chain addition and export as well. Mining and digital solutions, because we are still analog. I think a lot of business is done in the traditional way, and there is an opportunity for digitalization. And also that's one reason I came up with this online market store and digital payment solution, so that at least it can solve something. African subscribers can promote their products, and they can do transactions in one way or the other. So there is a lot to do in Africa. There is a lot to do in Uganda: hospitality and tourism, infrastructure, renewable energy, solar especially, and so much to do. So I'm very happy, and I think Doc is going to provide a contact to speak at the summit, because Global Chamber is partnering in the summit, and I'm very proud of that. More to that, I hear national directors of Global Chamber, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana. What about Uganda? What does it take? I would be happy to be an ambassador of Global Chamber in Uganda. So thank you very much. I think I'll share more information about the summit And Doug can also tell me who is going to be a speaker for the slot that the Global Chamber has on the summit. Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll circle back with you on that. We definitely want to make sure that we're set up there appropriately, and would love to work with you on that. You bring up the point of most of you are very young, certainly almost all of you younger than me. And in the next 20 years, what a world it would be if across Africa you could travel easily across borders without having everything digitized, so that your passport and all of that was handled appropriately. Many of you, and all of us probably, have been detained in some variety of ways across a border, and that just doesn't seem to make sense. The technology should be able to facilitate faster commerce. The other place where that impacts is with e-commerce. And so places like, for instance, someone in Mexico City wanting to buy a pair of tennis shoes from the US can now go to a website and then have something delivered the next day to Mexico City. And what has to happen there is not just the technology to be able to facilitate that, the digitizing of that whole process, including the website, but you've got to have customs clearance for the product, and in the case of that particular case, anything under $200 currently does not need to be inspected at the border. So the product can be delivered. It doesn't see any inspection. It goes into a plane, it goes, lands, doesn't get inspected again. It goes right to the customer. And to facilitate that type of activity, that's the way it's going to be, so how can we get there faster and better? You can be a key driver for all of that in your country as well. So I'd like to open up. We have about 10 minutes to go, 10 or 15 minutes before we need to move on to Derek's conversation. How about we just open up the floor and have anybody who has anything for a minute or two to share what you have, either a comment of what you've heard, or an introduction of something, or an idea around an opportunity that we should be thinking about. Who would like to go next? Just unmute yourself and move forward, or raise your hand, and we'll make sure that you get called on. Who would like to go next? Don't be shy.
Hi. All right. You can go first.
Hello. Laone, is that how you say your name? Are you there? Oh, you disappeared. And I saw Bonang. I think we've met recently. I saw you unmute yourself as well. Who would like to go next?
Hi, Doug.
Yes, Bonang, how are you?
I'm all right. Sorry, I was a bit confused. I thought someone else was going to speak.
No worries.
So
tell us your situation.
I'm just taking this moment to introduce myself. I've very recently come into contact with the Global Chamber. I'm from South Africa, and I'm just very interested, especially with the conversations that we've already had, and looking forward to continuing some of those and following some of the follow-up events that will be happening, because I can see that there's a lot of really, really positive initiative in terms of working across the pond, so to speak, with America, and also very positive initiative looking at Africans working with Africans, which is very important as well, because I think we as African countries also need to be able to stand on our own feet so that we can be able to trade internationally from a much better starting point. So I'm really happy about that. I'm in the base of Africa. I work with digital content production. We focus on building businesses through their operations and helping them improve their communications as well. So if anybody is looking at coming into the South African market, need some information, that type of thing, we also quite well resourced to assist with that.
You're in Johannesburg, I believe?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. So, and were you one of the Mandela Washington Fellows?
Yes, I was based at the University of Texas in Austin.
Okay, very good. So we participated. You participated through that. Thank you very much. You also reminded me to build on something that Comey mentioned earlier about capabilities and the ability to export services. One of the industries and businesses within Africa, as you know, that you alluded to, is call centers, which I think it's a very good fit, to have call centers in Africa. And I want to, we just had, and this is how the Global Chamber works, is last night, so it was about 10 hours or so ago, I was in a call with a Global Chamber Philippines, which does a lot of call centers and BPO, business process outsourcing. And so we signed on a new member there, actually a university that's working with a call center technology company in Austin, Texas. And they have a conference next week where they're introducing technology. And so if any of you are involved with call centers or interested in the call center, let me know. Send me an email or a WhatsApp or whatever is appropriate. And I'd love to get you involved in that discussion because it's a facilitator. These technologies are required to facilitate success in call centers or in anything that we're doing anywhere in Africa. So please consider that if you know someone who's involved with call centers or you yourself are involved with call centers. Thank you. That was what I was trying to think of, Comey, earlier. I had a senior moment. Who would like to go next? Thank you, Bonang, for sharing today. Who would like to go next? Just a minute or two introduction of either yourself or an opportunity within your region.
Can I quickly just come in?
Of course, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, thank you. I've already shared the link. Hi everyone. For those joining in newly, this is Debbie from Lagos, Nigeria, and we are inviting you, using this opportunity to invite everyone here for our Saturday event. It proves to be very eye-opening and interesting. You don't want to miss it. You want to know how to invest in Nigeria, things to invest in Nigeria, and also the legal arm of it. So you're welcome to join us on Saturday, this Saturday, 10th September, and we'll welcome you. Have a wonderful one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have about 5 minutes left, and so there's still time to introduce yourself or introduce anything that's going on. I see Lamine. Thank you for joining us again. You had some really good content around e-commerce. I was mentioning that earlier. I think that's a great opportunity for Africa, for absolutely. Who would like to go next?
Hey, Doc. Tisha here from Bangladesh.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Go ahead, Farzana.
Are you sure? Yeah, go ahead.
And then we'll get to Nwabisa. I'm sorry, I probably didn't say that correctly. Farzan and then Nwabisa.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nabisa, for allowing me to go first. And thank you, Doc, for inviting me for this amazing session. I think, it was the right field to discuss about what kind of offer I can do. So, hey, everyone, this is Tisha from Bangladesh. I'm an advisory board member of Global Chambers, Dhaka. So I work for a company which is called Brain Station 23. It's one of the top global outsourcing company, and we are exporting throughout 21 countries right now. So what role I'm playing currently is basically I'm leading the team for cloud business. And you all know, if you are thinking about digitalization or the industry 4.0 kind of technology to adopt, cloud is an inevitable platform that you can think of. So my point is, whenever we're thinking about data analytics or machine learning, AI, advanced kind of stuff, you always need a platform which can facilitate that kind of solution or digital solution. So I am basically also the leader for Amazon Web Service user group in Bangladesh. And I mostly focus on developing solutions around Amazon Web Service. So suppose, for an example, a bank might be needed a banking system, which is automated. You are using your mobile banking, and that mobile banking can be on this cloud platform. And you can talk about e-commerce, you can talk about the healthcare system, and you want to automate the whole healthcare system, and so on and so forth. So in every aspect of your business can get benefited out of this cloud platforms. Now, what kind of offer I'm proposing? So since we are the advanced partner of Amazon Web Service in Bangladesh, as well as 7+ countries, so we are globally the advanced partner to provide different services, and we have different kind of free offers as well. Suppose I can I can review or audit your whole infrastructure, which is already on AWS, or I can offer you free credits to try out this platform. And you might be a startup, you might be a SMB or enterprise who are trying to build the solutions on AWS. So that kind of facility I can provide. So yeah,
Okay.
that summarizes.
Thank you,
I think I
Tisha.
should allow others to speak. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your service with Global Chamber Dhaka, and also, if you haven't already, please put your information in the chat. We only have time for one more person, and let's go to Dwambisa. And sorry if I'm not mispronouncing. Please pronounce your name properly, and please go ahead. Are you still there?
Yes, I am, and you actually haven't done like what you thought. You did not butcher it at all, so well done.
You're very kind.
No, I think mine just maybe quickly, because I know we want to quickly wrap up, is to say I work for the National Audit Office. And so I'm, unlike most of the colleagues, I'm not coming from a corporate perspective, but I love what we're talking about, especially with the exports, because I think another big part of it is the policy side. So I think Bonang and the colleagues, maybe from my other South African folks will know, recently we had millions worth of citrus that actually was sitting at European ports last week, about to go to spoil, because we were having some kind of policy issues that had not been fixed and kind of updated. And so from I think a policy perspective as well, I think that's another big part of the conversation for us. And earlier you were also talking to ask us, what are some of the institutions that deal with exports and could be useful in that perspective. And for us, the University of Pretoria, I know, is one that usually is able to do a lot of that and works with quite a few countries and companies, as well as the Gordon Institute of Business Science, which also does that. So I think those are some of the institutions that could be useful, and I'm happy to engage with the South African executive director, maybe to create some linkages there between the University of Pretoria and the Chamber, as well as the business school. Because the Gordon Institute is kind of our biggest business school in Africa, has some amazing global networks, and I think that might be a relationship worth exploring as well.
We'll definitely look forward to working with you on that. I've noted your name, and I'll circle back with you. Thank you very much.
Super.
I think that does have to end our program. We do this event very frequently. I would love to have it every month, ideally, just a regular conversation. And so we do have other special programs, and that's what we're starting right now with Derek Banga of Global Chamber Nairobi, Kenya. Cesar, do you have the link there that we can automatically go over to that?
So it's gonna be way easier. It's the same link, Doug. So we've been getting new people. Okay. I guess those are for the event with Des. Let's do something. I'm gonna stop the recording so that you can probably send like a final words on the event in Africa. I'm gonna stop the recording, and then we can put some music for 2 minutes and start with Derek.
Okay, very good. So in final closing, I would first of all thank all of the speakers. I recognize Derek and Komi Klu and Debbie Adesola and Murado from his bedside. Unbelievable. Amazing man. We'll remember you forever like that, and we want to see you better right away. And Robina and Wabisa and Bonang, thank you. And it's great to meet you here the last couple weeks. Farzana, Afrin, Tisha, you call yourself Tisha. Now I remember you. I should call you Tisha, so sorry about that. Thank you all for participating today and sharing as we go along. Feel free to get ready for these meetings and prepare, and feel free to unmute yourself and be freely talking. That's kind of all about what the Global Chamber strives for, is to have a community, a safe community of professionals who are honest and knowledgeable and sharing and helping each other be more successful. And so let's end this program, have a minute or so of music and start with Derek. Thanks, Cesar, for all your help as always.